Hey church, welcome to the last of our series in Is There Something Wrong for Thursday Thought. You know, if you've been a Christian for some time and you've thought, is something wrong? I'm a follower of Jesus, but I feel like I'm missing something. You're in the right spot. And if this is the first video you've watched, this is the fourth part of our series. I encourage you, is something wrong? Prayer is going to be a link just up there. Is something wrong? The Bible, there's going to be a link up there. Is something wrong? Gifts, there's going to be a link down there. Check them out if you haven't already. I encourage you to catch up on that. But this week, I want to start by sharing a story. Many of you will know Petronella. Petronella is a part of our church. She was in hospital a couple of weeks ago. And during that time, she found herself in a waiting room in the hospital with some other people. And she began chatting to the person next to her. And before long, the question of faith and God came up. Petronella was clearly able to explain what she believed and what Jesus had done for her on the cross. The person she was talking to was an atheist, didn't know much about Jesus, but was grateful for Petronella being able to clearly communicate what she believed. So my question for you, if you were asked, if you were Petronella in that waiting room, would you be able to clearly and succinctly explain in a hospital room what it meant to be a follower of Jesus, what it means to you? Well, you're in the right spot, because I want to give you some tools this morning. There are many tools out there, but I want to give you some tools this morning which I have found helpful. 6 simple little diagrams. If you could draw a stick figure, then you can do this. So, 6 pictures which help you to explain the gospel. I want to draw them very easy. So first of all, God created the world. He created us to live and rule on that world. He created us to live and rule under God's authority. He made us to live and rule under Him. But does that describe how the world is right now? I don't think it is. Because you know what happened? We as humans decided that we didn't want to live under God's authority anymore, and we wanted to live under our own authority. We didn't want to live under God's authority. So we rejected God as the ruler and tried to live life our own way. But you know, God was not going to let us rebel forever, okay? Just as there are consequences for rebelling, just as there are consequences for in this world. If I drive down the road at 200 kilometers an hour and I get pulled up by the police, there are consequences for that. God's consequence for us rebelling against His authority is death. It is death. So that leaves us in a tough spot, doesn't it? But God wanted us to be in relationship with us. So you know what God did? God sent someone else to live on earth. And His name was Jesus. And He always lived under God's rule. He always did. But you know what? The religious leaders of the day, they didn't like Him because He challenged them. They didn't like Him. So what they did is they actually crucified Him. They killed Him. They nailed Him to a cross. But you know what God did? God actually, there's meant to be a J here because that's Jesus. God actually raised Jesus from death, and He is now ruling over the earth with God. But you know what? That leaves us with 2 choices. What we can do, we can live on earth under God's rule and Jesus, or we can choose to live under our own rule. You know, this little illustration comes from 2 ways to live. It's a great little booklet. There are heaps at the church. If you want to pop in, you can grab them anytime. But this clearly, as we can see, we now have 2 ways to live. So my question to you is, can you clearly explain what it means to be a follower of Jesus. We can live here under our own rule. We can live here doing things our own way. We can reject God as the true ruler, and the consequences of that is death. Or we can accept the free gift of Jesus, live under the authority of God and under God's rule, be forgiven by God, and spend eternity with Him. 6 simple pictures that help us to explain what Jesus has done. Hey church, I hope you've enjoyed the Something Is Wrong series. I encourage you, get familiar with each of these pictures. Bye for now.